So I'll be honest, after a few weeks, I was regretting buying the Ronin-sc. I liked it, but there were some annoyances that really made me consider sending it back. But with that said, I'm really glad that I didn't. This video is sponsored by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to make an amazing website. This is my long-term review of the Ronin-sc, and after about a month and a half or close to 2 months, I'm going to share both what I love about it, a few things that I really don't like and that don't make sense to me, along with why I almost sent it back, and also why I'm now using this gimbal more than any other gimbal that I own. Let me start off by saying that the Ronin-sc has a bunch of really cool software features that are honestly really impressive, but just like with my Phantom 4, I love having manual control. So these features will definitely be useful to some people, but I'm going to be focusing on the gimbal itself. I really liked a lot about the Ronin-sc, but I shoot a lot of weddings and gimbals have been becoming a crucial part of that. They have gotten so smooth, so compact, and so lightweight that with the right gimbal, I can literally use it all day, even during ceremonies and toasts. Unfortunately, the Ronin-sc was just too heavy for full 8 to 10 hour shoots, so I resorted to the lighter and in a couple ways more capable Crane 2, which was my go-to for a long time. Then came the Ronin-sc with the lower price than the S and with some cool new features and lower weight. After close to 2 months, I still have a few things that annoy me, but first, here's what I love about it. First off, just like the Ronin-sc, I love being able to remove the battery or the grip. It is so convenient, and not only for traveling. Times like when I'm packing my camera case, where in the past I'd have to pack my gimbal separately, I'm able to split it up like this and actually fit it in, which is super convenient. Next are the axis locks. Now this didn't seem to be like a huge deal at first, but after using it a few times and then doing another shot with the Crane 2, man, it is so convenient and so nice to be able to lock everything up and keep my camera straight on when it's on here, or when I'm putting everything away, being able to just grab this, go like that, bam, and then not worry about something flopping around or my camera moving or this thing just banging around on the motors. I really like the single adjustment for both the roll axis and for tilt, which not only allows me to balance quicker, but also because of this, I'm actually able to now use the much slimmer case when I've never used cases in the past because it actually fits in without having to reset everything. Along with that, I really like the little adjustable pin to save the optimal position, which lets me take off the camera to swap out the batteries and put it back on still perfectly balanced within a matter of seconds. I love having this trigger here in the back and also in the front having the 3 modes available that I can customize. I could easily see which one I'm in and be able to switch it really quickly, quicker than with other setups. I also have to mention doing software updates over the air right from the phone app instead of having to download and drag and drop files or any of that stuff that we have to do with other brands. One factor that had me using the Ronin-sc is the smoothness once my settings were dialed in, which I'll talk about in just a bit. It definitely is a step above my beloved Crane 2. While I was shooting, I didn't think there'd be that much of a difference, but when I did my own tests side by side, those showed me otherwise, and this is a big reason why I started to use the Ronin-sc for paid work. A big part of that is the auto-tune function that will fine-tune the motor strength, and along with that, the balance check to test if you are balanced correctly, and if not, it would actually show you how to balance properly in the app. These kind of things could be very helpful, especially for those starting out. Another thing I love is the full range of motion, where my Crane 2 would actually start freaking out right about here and it would reset, and that would sometimes limit the types of shots that I wanted to get, but the Ronin-sc does not have these issues. Now before I tell you about what made me start to regret buying this gimbal and what I still don't like, let me tell you about something that I have never regretted purchasing and paying for, and that is Squarespace. Over the years, I've made websites from scratch, from custom templates, and I've even tried multiple platforms, and Squarespace is by far my most recommended method. I'm actually in the process of remaking my commercial site with Squarespace that used to be custom. Not only is it incredibly easy to make a site, but you don't have to constantly be fixing problems or paying somebody else to take care of it. It just works, and it works well, so you can focus on what you love doing. Whether you need a portfolio site like me, e-commerce, or anything else, they have got you covered with great cross-platform designs to choose from and built-in SEO and security certificates, which makes it an amazing value. Head to squarespace.com/maxuria for a no credit card required trial, and if you sign up, you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now let's talk about the downsides compared to other gimbals. First off, you have to charge the grip when it's connected to the gimbal. I really wish it had a USB Type-C port on the grip itself so you could charge it separately, especially if you have 2 batteries. And onto the battery, DJI rates it at 11 hours compared to 12 on the Ronin-sc, but if you pay attention to the specs, the battery capacity is 17 watt-hours instead of 35. That's almost half of the battery. I got nowhere near 11 hours. At most, I got about 7 hours of runtime compared to actually getting 12 hours with the Ronin-sc. And I'm not using an overly heavy camera. Usually it's an a7 III with some kind of a small prime lens on it, and that's roughly about half of the actual rated capacity. It almost seems like they rated it with some kind of tiny camera that was perfectly balanced and just sat there for 11 hours instead of actual real-world use. We were shooting a wedding where the Ronin-sc died with about 1 hour of the wedding remaining, and then another wedding where it died right at the end. After that, I started turning off the gimbal at times to conserve power, unlike the Ronin-sc where I would just leave it on all day. This isn't a huge deal for most, but now that the battery grips are available, I think I'll probably be picking one up. That way I don't have to worry about it, but I do think that most people don't need it to last a full 8 hours of continuous shooting. Now, even though DJI has some great how-to guides for beginners and you can tell they're focused on making it easy, the default settings are quite disappointing. One setting is way too fast and jittery, and another one is way too slow. Unlike the cranes where you can just grab it, balance your camera, and go shoot, you'll actually need to tweak the settings. Here's a screenshot of how I set mine up, which gives me some great results. You'll likely want to tweak them a bit for your shooting style, but this should give you a good starting point. Now, another thing that bugs me is why can't we have a roll adjustment on the go like you do with the cranes? This is very nice if you want to set up a creative shot, or if it ever goes off, to be able to fix it on the go. This leads me into the biggest issue I had with the Ronin-sc and the reason why I wanted to send it back, and that is the horizon going off. I shot a few weddings where most of my clips were off, and then I would fix it, balance it, but after a while it would just go right back to it being off. It wasn't horrible, but definitely noticeable and very annoying. So much so that even though this gimbal had a ton of advantages, I was going to send it back and just use the crane too. I even had this video all set up with an overall poor review because of this issue. That is until DJI released a firmware update with support for more camera controls and an advanced calibration tool that is right in the app. I'm not sure if it was just the new firmware or it was the tool that fixed it for me, but ever since then, the horizons have been perfectly straight. The last thing that I want to talk about is the capacity. Not for the weight of a camera system, which is more than enough for most people, but the actual range of adjustments that you need to balance a camera on here, especially with the lens that is more front heavy. Because DJI wanted to keep the size and the weight down, and they wanted to differentiate the Ronin-sc from the more expensive Ronin-sc, you won't be able to handle longer lenses and heavier systems the way that the Ronin-sc can, at least not out of the box. A super popular combo is the a7 III and the Tamron 28-75, and with this setup, if you like to balance it at 50mm, which is right kind of like the midpoint to allow you to zoom in and out, you will have to remove the eye cup to be able to use this way. And if you had say the Sony version, the 24-70 G Master, you actually won't be able to get it balanced on the system. Now there is a workaround, and that is using counterweights, either some universal ones or something like the dedicated small rig one that replaces the actual plate and lets you add some weights to the back. Even though most of my setups won't need this, I'll likely pick up one of these just to be on the safe side if I ever do. It is fairly cheap, and I'll leave a link down in the video description. The last thing is that the motors heat up quite a bit if your camera isn't balanced well enough. It's definitely a bit pickier than the Crane 2, but the good thing is, with the new adjustment systems, it's much easier to balance, and for the auto tune, you can actually hold down the trigger and the little mode button for about 3 seconds, which will automatically get it to initiate instead of having to go into the app. So those are the biggest downsides, and unlike when I got it, after using it for close to 2 months, I would have to say that unless you know that you're gonna get a bigger, heavier setup in the near future, I would highly recommend the Ronin-sc, especially for the $439 price. And I definitely do not regret buying it, at least not anymore. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And if you want to buy one of these, you guys can use my link in the video description, which helps support the channel. Once again, a big shout out to our sponsor, Squarespace. If you need a new website or you're tired of your own, tired of upkeeping it or other issues, and you want a good upgrade, check them out using the link in the video description as well. This has been Max, and I will see you guys in the next video.